Welcome to the Meria Heller Show, on the net since 2000 and still going strong. If you feel like you're not getting the real news, if you feel like you're not connected spiritually, you have found your home. Meria covers a wide range of topics as only a snarky New Yorker can. Straight up, no chaser. No censorship, no corporate sponsors, thus true freedom of speech. Your subscription gives you unlimited access as a member of the smartest audience on earth. Relax and enjoy the education. Now here's Meria.
Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Hell and High Water with my guest, my co-host, the host of his own show, Chuck Ochelli. Good morning, Chuck.
Good morning, Mom. You know, it's is it morning?
How's life in the twilight? Right, how's life in the Twilight Zone? Listen, this morning, you have certain things you got to do for maintenance on your house, okay? And I've been putting it off because I need to get my wood stove cleaned. I need to get my plumber in here to change my water filters. And I called my plumber, and he informed me that he tested positive. And we had a little chit chat over that. He tested positive. His son tested positive. His son told him that he felt he was around people that had it, and that's why they went and got tested. The worst part is my plumber has had a heart transplant. And I guess when you go for your annual with that, he has to go to San Diego. And the doctors there won't see him until he tests negative. Of course, I asked him if I could send him Reiki, which I'm happy to do, and basically said, yeah, I'll call you at the end of the month and see how you're doing. That's number one. Then I called a hardware store to set up cleaning my wood stove, and I asked him, has your guy been tested? And he says, oh, yeah, we make sure they know what they're doing on the job. I said, yeah, no. I mean, has he been tested for the virus? Oh, I don't believe in this virus. It's overblown. It's a hoax. And I said to him, are you kidding me? Because I know people here in town, including my masseuse. I walked into her office, and she said, I'm going to wear a mask today. And I said, why? She said, because I've noticed that I put on some perfume, but I can't smell and I can't taste anything. And I threw my hands up. Luckily, I had not gotten any closer than 10 feet of her. And I said, you have the virus, I'm leaving. No hard feelings, but I'm out of here. So to listen to people that still want to say that this is a hoax and it doesn't exist, are they living in a bubble? Because it seems like every other day I'm finding somebody else in my small town that has it.
Well, Arizona has been climbing, allegedly, according to the... this is very hard to wrap my mind around because, on the one hand, your masseuse could be positive for coronavirus, but on the other hand, your masseuse could have a cold. I mean, that is possible too.
Well, she did go and get tested, and they told her she has it. One of my daughter's friends in the Valley had the same symptoms: no smell, no taste. He still has that. It's months. So I know that that's one of the big. And I had told her, I said, you need to get tested because those are the symptoms of COVID-19. And she did get tested, and bingo, she has it. And then, I called her a couple of days later to see how she was feeling. And she said the fatigue was setting in. And when I talked to my plumber this morning, he said that he's got fatigue. He doesn't have cold. He doesn't have any of the other symptoms. But, he's got fatigue. And, of course, he's got to be concerned because he's had a heart transplant. For people to say it doesn't...
This is another thing that's going on. We need to contend with this realistically.
Right.
And the fact is that the authorities that be or the authorities that shouldn't be, in some cases, both are not giving a coherent narrative, a coherent explanation for what the disease does, what it could do. I mean, we've heard you speak of the guy with the heart problem. Apparently, there are college football players that are coming up with a rare heart disease, and this isn't the first time that we've heard that maybe there's a heart aspect to this.
Right.
Alyssa Milano came out, yesterday or today, I'm not sure which, saying that she had battled COVID, her hair's falling out. Quite frankly, I couldn't get a test the first time I was sick this year which was during the early part of the pandemic. Now, other people were tested in my immediate vicinity, and nobody showed signs of exposure. However, I've been sick again, and this time, quite honestly, fatigue is it's palpable. I don't know if I have had it now, and it's still hard to get a test. I know my governor says, we're doing fine.
Right.
But that moron knows not what he's doing. Arizona, I've been reading, is having a spike, and here we go. Do we know really what's going on with this, Maria?
Well, no, we don't have one cohesive plan. We don't have one, we have no leadership. Let's not leave that out, okay? And when you look at the red states, and by the way, Arizona is actually starting to go down in cases.
Okay.
But when you look at Arizona and our governor, you look at Florida and their governor, you look at Texas and their governor, you look at Georgia and your governor, they're all Republicans, and they're all trying to ignore this and kiss Trump's ass. And in the meantime, Trump has done absolutely nothing about it. And truthfully, I think our tests are just a waste of time, to tell you the truth, because here in Arizona, it takes 4 to 8 days to get the results. Then you saw that one governor, I forget his name. He was supposed to meet with Trump, but he tested positive. Then he took another test that tested negative. And then you read all this stuff. This test works, this one doesn't. Antibodies, and you can get it twice, and nobody's really come out with, well, what do you do about it? Okay. We have no leadership.
What do you do about it? But as you just showed us with those couple of stories, there's no consistent, okay, listen, if you get something, and see, that's the other frightening thing about this. Well, don't worry, we're going to talk vaccines in a minute. But, we'll put aside the fact that I've got a problem with that entire process, possibility, the way they handle it to begin with in a normal situation. But, Russia, of course, says they have a vaccine.
Right.
Don't worry, Vlad has tested it on his daughter, so that sounds familiar, actually. But anyway, we'll get into that in a minute. They don't have a straight story here. Can you get it again? If you have the antibodies, do they last? If they give you a vaccine, could it work, or could it be something you got to keep going and getting? And meanwhile, still no consistent story as to what the disease does. It seems to do 100 different things now,
right,
which was not the case to begin with. All we get to hear from the alleged leadership is, "Don't worry, it's the China virus. They're going to pay for that,"
right,
just like they paid for the issues of trade with tariffs. Give me a break. This doesn't do anything. But okay, back to it. Nobody, even the sacred cow Fauci, doesn't have a consistent, coherent story
right,
about how to treat it, how to stop it, how to slow it down. Wear a mask, but you know what? If you look at it in the aggregate, we're not even sure that works.
right. I saw a story yesterday that, those masks that people wear that covers their neck too, and they pull it up like a turtleneck. I had a story and it said that's the most dangerous one you have, because all that bacteria, whatever, it just stays in that. Then you got, the N95, and then you have, should it be cotton? Should it be this? Nobody has a clue.
Right.
So you talk about FUBAR, and, I was looking at the European papers, and they are in a state of shock over what's going on in America. And we have been exposed to the whole world as basically a third world country with no health care, no universal health care for our people. And they just can't believe how rampant it's become.
Yeah, no, that's the amazing thing is look, I don't know how many people you speak to internationally right now, but to a man, as they say, right? The people around the world that I've spoken with are absolutely astounded that there is no recourse in some places. There is inconsistent everything. It seems like every other nation on the planet, apparently, except us, and probably a couple of places where people can't use their internet, like Belarus at the moment. it seems as though we're one of the only allegedly modern, industrialized Western nations that cannot even come up with a consistent plan across the board to make something happen because of the condition of our healthcare. It's like, even though they've watched us sort of discuss it, they still have this bizarre idea.
Right.
Well, our nation was going to handle it somehow, regardless of all the noise that the Americans have made about their health care over the past, I don't know, forever.
Right.
The national something will do something, and it doesn't. As I stated, I've been sick twice now, pretty bad during this pandemic time period. There is no easy way to go get a test where I am. If I'm admitted to a hospital, still we're dealing with the 10, 14 days test.
Right, which is useless. Right. I mean, it's useless because in that time period you could contract. Even if it came out negative, you could have been around somebody to get it. But
Right.
that's not happening in the White House. They're getting their test results probably in 15 minutes.
Oh yeah, but their rapid test results apparently are problematic. You brought up that governor who tests positive, who tests negative, positive, negative.
Right, and I mean, I'm no fan of Bill Gates, but Bill Gates said that our tests are useless.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he also said that we would need a series of vaccines. Let's not leave that one out.
A series of
A
vaccines.
series
Of
vaccines.
And here we are. Which devil do you like? You want
Right.
to trust Gates' assessment, or do you think that Vlad, the vaccinator over there in the Russian Federation, has come up with something?
Well,
I know people like Putin, but do you trust him with your
No,
vaccine?
I looked at social media this morning, and everybody was the consensus that they would never trust a vaccine from Putin.
But will you even know when the authorities tell you it's time to take the vaccine? Was it the Russian vaccine? Was it the English vaccine? Was it your friends at Big Pharma?
Right.
Oh, by the way, Kodak might or might not be able to make some components of that vaccine, but that's another story, right?
Well, we don't only have all that mishmash going on, shocking the world, but look at the horror that is unemployment in this country. I got people in my own family who are waiting for weeks and months. You look at California, I mean, their whole system pretty much has went belly up on unemployment. And people around the world are seeing that all that glitters isn't gold in America, that people are going hungry, bread lines, food lines. I mean, it's just insane. And then you have Trump come out and tell you that everything's getting better, the states are getting better, the virus is going away. Imagine how we look to the rest of the world.
Well, I'll tell you, and over the course of the weekend, we go from I'm signing an executive order that's going to give everybody $400 to, maybe not so much.
Right. His executive orders are useless, even though, who was it, Peter Navarro, said that the Lord gave him the power of executive order. I mean, what kind of crazy stuff is this? This is craziness. And I when I see that posted, I always put underneath it, well, that same Lord created COVID-19. And then nobody has a comeback for that. I mean, we have, truthfully, lunatics. I don't know if you got to see Larry Kudlow interviewed on Trump's latest executive orders. Kudlow couldn't even explain it. And the girl said, well, we'll have to come back to this because obviously I'm very confused and so are you. He couldn't even defend what Trump was saying or doing.
Oh, was that the one where he says $800, $200,
Right.
$400?
Right. Right. I watched it myself and I said maybe he shouldn't have got a guy off Fox News to be in charge of that,
Maybe, but
I mean, it's crazy. The craziness, it's like nonstop. And what does he want to do? He wants to say that Joe Biden is hurting God and hurting the Bible. I mean, do people see just how insane this man is?
Well, again, as we look at, I mean, please, you want to get into the church aspects of this? We have a California pastor talking about how God, COVID will obey the rules of God. You have the entire Christian, I don't know what it is, evangelical movement, which makes no sense, still sticking by their orange idol there, their orange cap. I thought it was supposed to be golden, but that's not gold. That looks like orange. Anyways, you have this all going on. Oh, let's not forget Franklin Graham and his unzipped pants.
Right.
I am speechless at this point. What is the circumstance? Oh, by the way, since we did mention Georgia and who it is we're going to put in harm's way and everything else, we of course have the national news from the girl who gets suspended because she used her phone in school to show people that, kids in a hallway in a high school are not going to be able to socially distance.
Right, and they weren't wearing masks. Well, they had to reinstate her. But now that school is closed because a lot of people tested for it. They closed the school to try to clean it, for a few days. And then I saw, in Georgia, your governor is still saying, there's nothing to worry about, even though they've opened and closed schools like toot sweet. And something like 260 students tested positive, including some of the staff. Mm-hmm. And when I see those stories and I post them, I just say, who didn't see this coming?
That's the amazing thing. Who doesn't see this coming?
Right. 97,000 children tested positive for it. Florida, the children being admitted into the hospital went up 105%. Who didn't see this coming? What's so important about going to school when we have a total idiot who paid somebody else to take his SATs who became president? So what's the difference if these kids skip school? They're not learning anything anyway.
Well, see, what does it come down to? You know why it is that the financial advisor can't even name the amount of money that's allegedly being given through the godly executive order? And you know why it is that they said months ago that people could live on $1,200 for 4 months?
Right.
And, there's no problems. Your prices aren't really going up. There's not really inflation. The jobs numbers look great. I mean, we lost 20 million, but we gained 1 million this month, Maria.
Right. Right. We lost actually 31 million Americans are on unemployment. Every week, 1.5 million file. So to say that jobs went up 1.5 million last month is a joke, and those are probably people forced back to work. It's not like these were new jobs created when 40% of small businesses are going bust forever. And you've got, let's not leave out JCPenney's and some other big chain store, that now Amazon, as they're going bankrupt, Amazon wants their space to put in Amazon warehouses, which I hate to say it, South Park predicted that about 2 years ago.
Yeah, no, this is all correct with the fulfillment centers that aren't very fulfilling, honestly. But, Amazon's going to have even more problems coming up. I mean, I kind of want to see those empty malls go to some sort of use, Maria, because otherwise there are just these hulking structures all over the country that are absolutely, they're just going to be the abandoned buildings of tomorrow.
I think that's where a lot of homeless people are going to end up, especially with these evictions that are on tap.
Well, there you have it. We still have that coming up.
All right.
But the idea that all these fulfillment centers are gonna take over, it's kind of like, well, that sort of makes a little bit of sense. You're right. South Park did predict it. But even stranger than that, at this very time, we're looking at a circumstance where Amazon might want to not count its chickens before it's hatched either, because they kind of rely on the postal service.
Right.
And I don't know, have you done any business with the United States Postal Service in the past few months?
Of course. All the time. I mean, I'm old school. They thank me for paying my bills in the mail. Okay. But I'm old school. That's the way I keep my records. I have no problem paying 55 cents for a stamp. I've mailed things certified mail, return receipt requested. And I have, so far so good. But, this morning there's a petition going around to get rid of this Trump patsy that he put in charge of the post office. And lawmakers are also talking about the same, because now that he's done the slowdown with the post office, a lot of people are having problems getting their medications because a lot of people save money buying their medication through the mail, especially if you're on Social Security.
Well, and you have no choice with the VA and a lot of these other, low rent healthcare things. You have no choice. Your medication has to come by mail. Now, some of them use, like, say, UPS or one of these other services, but, no matter what it is, you better be careful about mailing your bills old school, Maria, unless you mail them way ahead of time, because I got bad news for you. Everything seems to be delayed. Things are getting screwed up as far as, time delivery. Even if you do the whole, I got to mail this priority, it's got to be there in a certain amount of days, or you pay the extra or whatever. They're just not following through, giving no explanations, it is what it is. Now, the funny thing is, a lot of people think this just started this week. It did not. I noticed, things going wrong with the Postal Service earlier this summer when I was just starting to mail things out, and it just wasn't getting there in even a remotely reasonable amount of time. I had a piece of mail from Georgia take 14 days to get to New Jersey.
Right.
Now,
well, that's typical. That was always typical. If I mailed something from Phoenix to Florida, they'd get it in 2 days. If I mail it from Phoenix to Phoenix, it would take a week. So I'm like, what the hell is this?
Look, I understand that kind of thing is sort of funny because they probably had it in a system where it got sent out to a sorting facility, and, weirdly enough, it would literally take longer to mail something, a couple of miles away as opposed to across the country. But 14 days to New Jersey for a flat envelope with priority shipping is not normal. Right. Okay?
Well, don't forget, they also want to set this up, with all the bull crap we're getting about mail-in voting. So, listen, in every single department, Trump puts the absolute worst enemy of that department in charge of it. I'm sure you've seen that he dragged out the war criminal, Elliot Abrams, from the Iran-Contra deal and made him our ambassador to Iran. I mean,
why not?
You would think these people would never have the guts to show their faces again in public, and yet there they are, kind of like Oliver North, the radio star.
Oliver North, the radio star. Hey, wait a minute. Wasn't he the head of the NRA for a minute? That's right. They're investigating them for corruption, too, right now, which is strange considering that it is the Trump Justice Department. But, because why would they bother to investigate anybody for corruption? I don't know.
Well, it's New York. It's New York's Attorney General investigating the NRA. Trump's big idea to the NRA was, of course, this is a travesty. It's fake news. It shouldn't be happening. And he basically told the NRA to move to another state, which they can't do if they're getting prosecuted in New York. So I mean, everything this guy says, I keep posting it hoping people will get it. I said, every word is a lie. Every act is a crime. And that how many more laws is this guy going to be able to break? While Congress sits on their ass and continues to take their long weekends, both parties, okay? Looking at, I don't know if you got to hear my news show the other day, but here in Arizona, they actually put in office 2 atheists, and they actually won. And I have been saying for years, the only people I ever want to see in office should be atheists, because I don't want anybody forcing their religious bullshit on the rest of us. Right. So, if you're not voting for progressives, then why bother? Okay. And people are showing around the country, I think one transvestite actually won her election. People are showing we don't want to go backwards, and we don't want the old dinosaurs in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Because, listen, Nancy Pelosi can say all the snarky remarks she wants to, but what's happening? Why is this guy still getting away with every single thing he does? By the time these things drag out in court, we'll all be dead.
Listen, all true, but at the end of the day, you can't even begin to unravel the absolute. I mean, I wish it was a web of crap. It's beyond a web. But what is the next stage spiders weaving sweaters. I don't know what to say. If you look at every statement out of this guy, I was amazed at one of the things he said. Just what was it yesterday? Was it yesterday when they interrupted the press conference because it was a shooting outside?
Right.
I think it was. And here I am with this disjointed concept of what day it is. I can't help it, but anyway, we'll get to that maybe in a bit. Here's the thing. Trump is saying, okay, so just like the pandemic, which was in 1918, that ended World War II.
Right.
And I'm looking at it going, so the trajectory of this sentence has 4 lies built into it. And they are lies, but are they really lies if the guy just doesn't even know what he's talking about?
He doesn't
know
anything.
But he thinks he does.
Right.
And, just for the record again, the pandemic's, 1917? And, by the way, World War II didn't start for another 20 years. So, every point the guy makes, every statement he makes, every issue, I'm going to protect pre-existing conditions. Well, it's a double safety net. I know Obamacare does it now, but it's a double safety net. What in the hell is going on?
Right. Well, maybe he's taken too many trips to Thailand.
Well, listen, Thailand was also pretty funny. But then again, see, and I still argue, by the way, this is late stage untreated syphilis. I mean, a lot of people are talking about what could be wrong with him. What's wrong with Trump? Is he ill? And it goes and comes through social media really quickly, but consistently. Is it just that this is the leader that so many of these people actually deserve because they're willing to overlook that?
Right.
I mean, I remember when we used to make fun of the misstatements of George W. Bush. But W would do this over the course of a month, what Trump does in a day.
Oh, absolutely. But he wants to rag on Biden for his gaffes. And, when I saw that post about Trump saying that the virus ended World War II, my comment I posted there was, maybe he shouldn't have paid someone else to take his SATs.
Well, yeah, it would have been good if he, maybe did it himself. Which, by the way, speaking of the whole paid to do his SATs and all that, I mean, I couldn't even finish Mary Trump's book. I gotta be honest with you.
I didn't even start it because I already know so much from all the tidbits I've been seeing online and, on some of her interviews on YouTube. I was like, I don't even want to read the book. What else are we going to learn? I mean, everybody's writing a book. You got Michael Cohen supposed to roll out his book before the election. Somebody else is writing a book that I talked about yesterday.
If they don't throw Cohen back in jail again.
I mean, listen, you could fill a library with how many people have written books against Trump, and yet he's still there. He's still there. Yesterday when they Secret Service, which I think that whole event, by the way, I think it was staged. All right. First of all, the guy didn't shoot at the White House. Okay, he wasn't even near the White House. He approached a Secret Service officer, as far as we know, if any of this is true. And the Secret Service officer thought he had a gun. Today they said the guy didn't have a gun. So Trump was never in any danger, unfortunately. But one of the posts I saw this morning was quite excellent. They said the Secret Service went over to Trump. They said, you have to leave right now. And I don't know if you saw how he left. He left the same way he left Helsinki with his head between his legs. And people said, that's good practice for January 1st. Since he says, he's not leaving and he's fortifying the White House like it's the Bastille. So I guess the Secret Service, which it is their job to tell him to leave. So let's hope it goes that easily.
Yeah, see, a lot of people don't understand that about the situation. Even the client that is being protected by the Secret Service. A lot of people think, they're the president, they can say, yeah, not really. Secret Service tells you this has to be done. You don't get time to question it. That's one of those things that goes on.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, one of the men at my gym is he's a retired federal agent. And we were having the discussion, and you could see that guy was a federal agent. All you got to do is look at him, Chuck. And he said Trump can say whatever he wants to say. It's the Secret Service's job to take him out of there, and they will.
No, and they did it out of an abundance of precaution. I get it. But that story in and of itself, let's go back to what you just said. That whole thing is weird. I read an account that the individual approached seemed to maybe be reaching for a gun and then squatted and maybe even pointed at a Secret Service agent. Now, let me ask you a question, Maria. Who in even the remotely close to a right mind would do something like that with an armed federal agent?
Right.
Basically, a play like you have a gun, but you don't. You're gonna get shot.
Right.
I mean, is this suicide by cop? Well, maybe not, because he didn't come up to him and get into a scuffle. He apparently ran away and then did this whole, I don't know what to call it, performance art that got him shot. And the person's in custody. We still haven't heard from them, have we?
No, not a word. But last I saw this morning, because I don't have too much time to surf the news, was that the guy didn't have a gun. But I bet you anything that guy was white because he's still alive.
Well, maybe. And I understand your feelings here, but weird enough that somebody was shot unarmed again, huh? I mean, well...
To me, it just seemed like it was staged, Maybe they just needed to rush the moron off the stage before a woman asked him a question that he couldn't handle and runs away like he does. The same guy who said he would run into a school shooting to save the children has got 3 fences around the White House now. And, runs away when a woman reporter questions him on taking the credit for something Obama passed years ago.
Of course. Well, and yesterday's presser also ended with the OAN, setup of the day, and at what point? Once again, see, notice a trend here, though. We talked about the virus. Nothing makes sense. The authorities are confused. There are idiots talking about it. Okay, leadership on all things. Well, let's look to the president. Okay, idiots not knowing what they're talking about, people that are disconnected from the circumstances in charge. Yeah, perfect. You know what? It's all pretty consistent, actually, Maria. That's one thing we can say.
Right.
That apparently the people who are supposed to be in charge, the powers that shouldn't be anyway, cannot get a consistent statement together, and now they don't even care. They don't even act like they care. How about that? I'm not sure if they ever cared anyway in the course of my lifetime. But hey, let's go for the idea that they used to have to pretend to give a crap. Now, all done, all bets are off. Let's throw a bunch of stuff in the air. The people that are happy to believe something will. The people that are not, too bad. And guess what? We get nothing done. Nobody gets protected. Nobody gets health care. Nobody gets anything except a lot of lip service. And you know what? It's multiple choice. So many contradictory and ridiculous notions all together in one basket. You assemble your own narrative.
Right. The only
thing
the only thing they're consistent at is FUBAR. Chuck, we need to take a short break. Stay with us. Chuck and I will be right back.
Our founders said that it is our duty as a free republic to be an informed citizen. To that end, Meria works tirelessly to inform you about all that is going on in the world and what you can do about it. She has never sold out or bought into the system. She's here just like the rest of you, trying to figure things out. Thus, there is no corporate control of her work, just you, the subscriber. Meria offers many options to subscribe, and all are free to choose the senior plan if your budget cannot afford the others. We're the ones we've been waiting for, so don't wait any longer. Subscribe today at meria.net.
Okay, welcome back to Hell and High Water with myself and Chuck. And if you're not familiar with Chuck's work, get over to Ochelli.com. I have a live link right here. There's less than 5 people now that I recommend anybody even pay attention to. He's one of them. We could use your support, and we appreciate it, especially in the end of times. Last night, Chuck, I was actually thinking, and I've been saying this for a while, that I don't think the name of my news show is strong enough anymore. News of Planet of the Apes. And I said, well, what would I name it if I wasn't going to? And I was going to put News from the End Times. You look at this, and it's coming at us from all directions. Okay. It's, I've been saying for, God, forever that our government needs an enema from top to bottom. Trump has shown us and proven that we need a new government, a new form of government, one that actually works for the people. The Bernie Sanders type of government, which of course they'll never let Bernie in. So we've, been disappointed twice. A lot of people are saying, I don't want to vote for Biden, he's this, he's that. And I said, yeah, listen, he's no saint either, but anything but Trump, which reminds me of anything but Bush, anything but, we could go back through history that way. We never get to vote for somebody, at least me. You're always voting against somebody.
Well, here's the reality of voting at this point. I know that some people think it's still a great thing to do, but it seems to me as though it's just an endorsement for more of this, one way or another. Oh, I should just forget all this, Maria, because after all, the great orange, I don't want to call him retarded because it just is insulting to anybody who might actually be retarded. But, the thing is, what did he say yesterday also during this wonderful presser where all of his, alternative facts were totally straight? The Democrats are meddling in the selection, All
right.
Which is interesting to me because what do we have again is, by the way, Mr. President, Russia's trying to work for you. Oh, well, that's not true. The fake news are reporting that. They're not happy with me. Don't you know that?
Well, you got Russia, you got China, you got Iran, and I'll tell you what, my vote's with China. China hates them with a passion. What amazes me, I don't know if you caught the other speech he gave to one of his lackey supporters, where he was saying that, you may not see me for a while because I have very powerful enemies that are very rich in the pharmaceutical business who don't want me to reduce the price of drugs, so you may not see me for a while. First of all, he talks about it, but the price of drugs is still going up. Everything he says is a lie. And I'm like, how could it be that this guy is still breathing? I just can't get it. That was the other thing. When I talked to this agent at my gym, he was totally unaware because he's younger than me. I would say this guy's probably 50. He was told, I said to him, well, why is it the Secret Service can't do a stand down like they did with JFK? And you should have seen the look of bewilderment on his face, Chuck. And man, what a segue, what an opening to a conversation that gave me. And, in the beginning, he tried to, blow me off where, you're a conspiracy freak. Until I told him about Abraham Bolden, the first Secret Service agent picked by JFK, and how he was locked up and put away so he couldn't warn America of what they had planned to do. I told him I had interviewed Lyndon Johnson's attorney, Bar McClellan, who basically said Lyndon Johnson was behind it. Then the guy got all kinds of interested, okay? And I said, you're going to tell me driving a president in an open limo in a changed route at the last minute and a slowdown when the shots go off wasn't a setup? So I guarantee you that guy went home and started doing some research.
Well, I'll tell you what, for free on YouTube, if you want, there is something on my YouTube channel called Ochelli on the Grassy Knoll. I just want you to know that. And you can see me standing on the bridge, the triple overpass there, which is a railroad bridge and also leads onto 3 different roads going onto the Stemmons Freeway there and all that. And taking a look at the weird turn into Dealey Plaza and the way it's set up, and exactly why there is this very strange need to slow down the motorcade. I cannot begin to explain a benign reason for the path. And this is not, some brand new point that I made, really, but I'm standing on the bridge showing you from an overhead view what the options were for the Secret Service, okay?
Right.
And how you could have changed traffic. It wouldn't have been a big deal to change up one lane of traffic in Dallas for, an hour or 2 or 3 or 4. in order to give safe passage to the president where there was no need to slow down, and if need be, a speed up could have been easily done to avoid a problem. No. It's very weird. Take a look at it on YouTube. I mean, I put together a little documentary about my trip to Dallas there. It's free. But anyhow, you know, what is going on there? I take note that despite yesterday's whatever weirdness that was with a guy, you know, pretending to have a gun like he's 4 years old, so far from the story we've been told anyway, getting shot by a Secret Service agent, it seems to me as though the Secret Service is not having a hard time with people coming after Trump. Now, we can talk about which version of which conspiracy theory you want to talk about, whether it's the shot taken at Ronald Reagan or the various weirdnesses that went on with Barack Obama, by the way, which has not made as much news as it used to, regarding the Secret Service having to take people down and everything else. Attempts at Gerald Ford, the only presidential candidate to have two would-be female assassins. You know, it seems to me like nobody's taking a shot at Trump.
No, and you look at China, right, you look at China, look at Iran, look at every nation on earth that he's pissed off. I mean, China's now actually put sanctions against some of the members of Trump's administration, including Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz, in, you know, as a tit for tat from Trump's ridiculous sanctions that only Americans are suffering for. But, you know, listen, back in the day, you know, the mob operates very similar to our government, okay, except the mob actually had some ethics. But I remember back in the day, the mob had their own form of Secret Service. No matter who you were, if you were John Gotti to Joe Colombo, okay, they had their own guards, okay, bodyguards. But they operated the exact same as the Secret Service. They were supposed to take a bullet for their capo, okay. But I remember the day that Joe Colombo was shot at one of his rallies in New York. My next door neighbor who I was friends with, her father was one of Colombo's henchmen. And he had said that they were doing, most of his bodyguards were calling in sick that day. They knew that Colombo was going to get hit, and they told the people they knew, myself included, not to go anywhere near the rally. So there was a standoff, bingo, Colombo gets shot dead. So if the mob does that, you know the Secret Service did the same thing with Kennedy. And yet, you know, it offends me that they have to spend so much money protecting this enemy of the United States, from, you know, renting golf courses to overpaying for hotel rooms to protect this useless, absolutely useless president, the most useless president I have ever seen in my life, and I've been alive a long time. It just stuns me that not only does he still live, but what's Congress doing to stop this guy? Oh, we're going to do an investigation. By the time these investigations are over, half of America could be dead. Okay, well, dead, starving, in the street, you know, homeless people hanging themselves at a higher rate now than ever before. I mean, if this guy didn't come into office to destroy America, he's done a great job.
Well, and that's the miracle part of this other weirdness in the equation, which is people that are still believing that somehow this guy is there to fight the pedo rings.
Right.
You know, even though he wishes, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell well.
Right, twice.
I know I mispronounced her name, by the way. I did that intentionally. But, you know, don't worry. One of the people connected to one of the most notorious child traffickers in history, I wish her well. That's fine. Right. He's there to fight the deep state, allegedly, right?
All right. Well, I'll tell you what about the deep state. I have to interrupt you there. Bev Conover of Intrepid Report said it the best on my show a month or so ago. She said there is no deep state. They're out in the open. They're in our face. And when you look at all the criminals that are in every single department of our country now, she's right. There is no deep state. And Trump, you know, he tells his fans what they want to know. You know, even my granddaughter said, you know, I guess Pizzagate is coming back up for another rehash. And I said to my granddaughter, I said, Pizzagate was a bullshit story. Okay.
It was.
I said, I have friends that know for a fact, because they live there, that pizza store didn't even have a basement. Okay. But yet,
Oh,
when you
yeah.
tell them that Wayne Madsen put out a report naming every child, boy and girl, that Trump has raped and paid huge amounts of money to their families, nobody wants to pay attention to that. He is a pedophile. Why would he stop the ring? Or talking to Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, after all, she lost her boyfriend. Either he was killed or he hung himself. We should feel sorry for her. That's how he referred to her. She lost her boyfriend. Her boyfriend. So we should feel sorry for her.
Yeah, well, she aged out of his wheelhouse a long time ago. But anyway, the idea of him fighting the deep state, though, I find hilarious. I mean,
Right.
Bev's correct, but more. I find it interesting. The guy is fighting the deep state. The guy is fighting the deep state. Well, let me just give you a little hint here. If he really was fighting the deep, dark underbelly of the intelligence agencies, the criminal underworld, if he was really giving them any sort of trouble whatsoever,
He'd be dead.
people would be taking shots at him.
Exactamundo.
Okay, they're not. Guess why? This guy isn't just not fighting the deep state and encouraging criminality. This guy is the right pitch man for the deep state. You know why? Because we are so caught up in trying to unravel if spiders could weave sweaters, okay?
Right.
Get webs. We're so busy unraveling that crap. We're so busy trying to keep track of all the conflicts of interest, which, by the way, that post office thing, conflict of interest on that, you need to look at who the Postmaster General is right now.
Absolutely.
And, the multiple motives why he might be sabotaging one of the only institutions that kind of worked in this country, actually.
Right.
Until recently, of course. It is beyond. This guy is not only not fighting the deep state, he is the perfect puppet of the deep state. Now,
Well, and he's connected
does
to the
he
deep
actually
state.
know what he's doing strategically? No. I think they've just let somebody who, and you know this better than I do, my whole life, I've always taken note of people who are very loudly declaring how they know everything.
Right.
That's usually the guy who knows nothing.
Right.
Okay? He's a perfect patsy, if you will, for the deep state, believing that he knows what he's talking about, thinking that it's a great idea to give his acceptance speech from Gettysburg or the White House because that wouldn't be using a government building for a political purpose.
Both of those are against the ethics laws. I said, why doesn't he give it from a graveyard or Moscow?
Well, wouldn't that make a whole lot more sense?
All right, just give it from Moscow, or from Arlington Cemetery, where he will never be buried. Why not do it there in a graveyard? You know what I mean? I mean, this guy is a moron. Everything he does is illegal, and yet he has all these enablers around him. You could see them throwing the election. How could it be possible that Mitch McConnell is in the lead in Kentucky? Oh, because he shut down 95% of the voting places.
That's how it gets done.
Yeah, I mean, at what point do Americans say, we've had enough, we can't wait for the law to change this? I don't understand why millions of Americans aren't rushing the White House and demanding they all resign. And they're doing it in other countries. Bolivia is doing it. Why are we not doing it? Why are we sitting back waiting for another pitiful $1,200 or maybe, God forbid, your unemployment check will actually show up while you're online for food, at a food bank? Why are Americans still taking this crap? That to me is the $1 million question.
You know what? It is the $1 million question, but I have other questions that go along with it. Like, how is it that Sheriff Joe Arpaio nearly became a sheriff again?
At 88, a convicted felon, pardoned by another felon, who's an open, bald-faced racist. I couldn't even believe that he ran again. I just can't believe. Do these people think they're going to live forever? And unfortunately, it looks like they do.
Well, see, that's the other problem is that, again, there used to be a time, Meria, and I know you can attest to this, where, eventually a level of shame would land on you as a public personality where you had to go away.
Right.
Because people wouldn't tolerate you anymore and wouldn't take you seriously. See, And a guy like Arpaio, even with the commutation of his sentence or whatever it was, or the pardon, I don't know. I keep getting mixed up. Which criminal did he give a commutation to? Which one did he pardon? Which one did he, just give time served? I'm not sure which. I mean, unless Kim Kardashian goes there to lobby for you, or you're part of his criminal enterprise, I don't know who gets the treatment anymore. It's getting very confusing. Scooter Libby. Okay.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know what to make of it anymore. There used to be, and I'm not somebody who's about shaming people, but people that do the wrong thing, who do damage to the public trust, who actually injure, multiples of other people that were innocent, who, by use of their power, their prestige, their monetary positioning, did damage. It used to be that eventually they had to go away. They couldn't come back out.
I can't remember the name of the politician, but he misspelled, I think, the word potato. Do you remember that?
That was Dan Quayle.
Dan Quayle. I couldn't think of his name. That was the end of his career. He misspelled the word potato, was the end of his career. Then you had John Edwards running for office, who got caught because he had a mistress on the side of his marriage. His career was over. Now we have a guy who's been married multiple times, a rapist who's raped over 20 women. It looks like he's going to be forced to produce his DNA for E. Jean Carroll. Raped bad children, boys and girls, probably his own daughter, because I don't know how anybody could miss that just from looking at body language. A rapist and a ganef, a thief, a liar, and people still believe that he's a good Christian and he's president. So there's no bar anymore. Okay, you can misspell potato now, I guess, for the rest of your life. You can't come close to this moron that we've had now.
Well, and not like Bill Clinton is not somebody that needs to be looked at for all kinds of stuff, which has not been entirely shown regarding similar accusations. Funny thing, he's got connection to Epstein as well. But putting that aside, when people were demonizing him publicly, it really wasn't for that big of a deal. I know today a power disparity between the fact that Monica Lewinsky was a White House intern and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I get it. But, in the 90s, it wasn't about that. It was about this horror show that he cheated on his wife, did it, while he was president, and he lied about it.
Right.
I wish that the complexities of today's scandalous behavior was that simple.
Well, I think
what I mean?
Listen, then, it also points to Americans have lost their moral compass. There is no other way of looking at it. There is no morality anymore. It seems like anything goes and anything is okay. Nobody seems to care the difference between right and wrong. Right.
And the situation calls for, well, if you actually want to support the person, you just push aside and brush aside and declare it fake news and state that, hey, look, that can't possibly be true, and doesn't matter how much the guy shows you that he's got no relation to the book he holds up after gassing protesters to go do a photo op. He can tell you that literally his opponent is against God, and the far left is attempting to destroy the country, and he is, again, the only one who can stop it from happening.
Right.
I mean, it's just, no matter what, here's my situational ethics, because I want to support him, I will ignore all of that. And that's what it comes down to. It's like the ethics of ignorance.
Right. Well, it's a cult of personality, and even Trump admitted nobody likes him, and maybe it's because of his personality. But yet, obviously, there must be a lot of people like him that do like him. And those are the kind of people I never want to be around. Okay? It's that simple. Yeah. It's like, oh, God, if I see somebody, I don't mean to judge people, but I see somebody wearing a pro-Trump thing. I mean, I got a guy across the street from me who's trying to sell his house. He has a giant, at least it's 6 feet by 6 feet, Trump 2020 tacked on the outside of his house that he's trying to sell. And I'm like,
oh, wow.
Holy shit. And then I saw all the signs in the neighborhood, because we just had our local elections, for mayor and all the other bullshit, and nobody does anything in this town either. But there was actually a woman running who at the top of her sign said, I'm pro-Trump. That's how she was advertising her position. And I looked at that sign and I was like, holy crap, another reason not to vote for her. And she puts it on a big billboard. So I don't understand. I can't, maybe I'm too smart, maybe I'm too stupid. I just can't understand how after 4 years of nothing but death and destruction, anybody can think that this guy deserves another 4 years.
Well, after all, Meria, look, he let me list his accomplishments. I mean, after all, he built the wall, right? After all, he got us out of the foreign entanglements, and the engagements were no longer at war with Afghanistan because he wanted us out of there. I think he also corrected the economy. The economy's great and healthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. He showed us a whole new way of leadership. Didn't he do so much better with healthcare when he introduced his new program? Didn't he also fix the fraudulent voting system? Hasn't he actually made all sorts of pedophile rings pay? Wait a minute, didn't he reform the Justice Department and make it all so much better for all of us that the system works now? Right. I mean, I'm sorry. Let's list his accomplishments, Meria. Can't you wrap your mind around that?
There are none. I actually, today's question I posited on Facebook was, can you name one good day since Trump got in office? And I haven't looked at a lot of the comments yet because I've been busy. But the comments I already saw were all in unison, not a one. And where are his accomplishments? So he can't talk about that. So he gets up there and hallucinates and spews nothing but lies and crazy talk. And yet people still allow him. You know, he shouldn't even be allowed to be seen on TV because it just shows how fast he's deteriorating. I noticed that when I watched him yesterday. I said, wow, this guy is like eroding right before our eyes and nobody sees it.
No, and that's the funny thing is it's gotten nothing but worse. I mean, that little list that I just put together a minute ago, obviously, neither one of us has enough magic mushrooms to buy that any of that is real. But you know, I'm not sure what the level of magic mushrooms would be to take to imagine that I was on a good enough trip to think things have gotten better, anything's improved at all. You know, do I blame the virus on Trump? Do I even blame the response? I don't know. Because I can't even get a coherent explanation as to what the hell is going on.
All right. I know, you're in the dark here. Anyway, Chuck, we've ranted and raved for a whole hour now, so we're pretty much out of time. But I want to thank you for chit-chatting with me today. I think it was like a soul's release talking with you.
Gotta vent sometimes, Mom.
I know. So you hang in there and feel better, and we'll talk in a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. Can't wait to do it again.
All right. Take care, Chuck.
Take care.
Okay. Thanks, everybody, for listening and putting up with us. But I'm sure a lot of you probably agree on some of the stuff we're talking about. So listen, if ever there was a time to trust your own intuition and figure life out by yourself, now's that time. Anyway, thanks for supporting the show. I'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening and supporting The Meria Show. Tell others what you learned today. Knowledge becomes wisdom only when it's shared. Encourage others to subscribe today. www.meria.net. Often imitated, never duplicated. A world of information all in one place. www.meria.net. Always ahead of the curve. Always on your side. Get active or get radioactive. Subscribe today.